Kyle Richards feeling lonely after split with Mauricio Umansky. Kyle Richards is emotional and feeling lonely as she talks to her ex-husband about their split. Her ex-husband, Mauricio Umansky, moved out and got his own condo while Kyle is still in the house by herself. She says it feels odd and lonely being in a space they once shared. Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky part ways. In the upcoming episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, set to air Tuesday, February 4, Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky sit down for an emotional conversation about their separation. While the talk begins casually with Kyle asking about Mauricio's new living situation, it quickly turns more serious as she opens up about how different life feels without him. Mauricio shares that his new condo is coming together, but he's adjusting to a simpler lifestyle. He mentions living on canned soups and a basic refrigerator stocked with eggs. When Kyle asks about his living situation, the conversation shifts to her experience of living in the family home with their daughters, which now feels quiet and empty without him. As Kyle speaks about the emotional weight of living in a house that once felt full of life, her emotions start to show, and she begins to tear up. Kyle gets emotional in Empty House. Kyle explains that while the house feels the same, it also feels different because it no longer holds the same family dynamic. She says, "I'm in the place where everybody was." It just feels different, revealing just how difficult the separation has been for her. Mauricio, showing his support, responds by giving her a hug and a gentle kiss on the back of her head, offering comfort during a tough moment. Kyle, still emotional, wipes away tears and apologizes for her vulnerability. But Mauricio reassures her, saying, "It's ok." This intimate moment is a reflection of the deeper emotional challenges both are facing during the separation. Although Kyle and Mauricio announced their split in October 2023, they haven't filed for divorce. In a December 2024 appearance on Watch What Happens Live, Kyle explained that they remain close friends and the legal steps just haven't felt necessary yet. She also admitted that neither of them is eager to address the situation fully, as it's still a difficult subject to navigate. Despite the separation, Kyle and Mauricio's relationship appears to be built on mutual respect and care for one another. Their bond is evident in how they continue to support each other through this difficult time. Fans of the show will have to tune in to see how the conversation between them unfolds and whether this separation will turn into something more permanent. The next episode airs Tuesday at 8/7 on Bravo. If you miss it, the episode will be available on Peacock the next day. Kyle Richards sat in her sprawling Los Angeles mansion, the silence echoing louder than the extravagant crystal chandelier that hung above her. The house, once filled with laughter, late-night conversations, and the steady rhythm of a love that spanned decades, now felt cavernous, empty, and unfamiliar. It had been months since her split with Mauricio Umansky, yet the loneliness was only beginning to sink in. She scrolled mindlessly through Instagram, past photos of happy couples, romantic getaways, and family vacations. It wasn't that she begrudged anyone their joy. It was that she no longer knew where she fit in the world that once revolved around her perfect image. A year ago, she was part of Hollywood's golden couple, a real housewife with a real love story. Now she was another name on the list of Beverly Hills breakups. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had spent over a decade in front of cameras, carefully curating the image of a woman who had it all. A devoted mother, a loving wife, a strong businesswoman. But behind the glitz and the designer handbags, the cracks had been forming for years. Mauricio had been the love of her life, but somewhere along the way, they had stopped speaking the same language. He was always working, she was always filming, and their worlds no longer aligned the way they once had. She took a deep breath and set her phone down, standing to walk over to the massive floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. The view was breathtaking, but it didn't fill the void. Nights like these were the hardest when the girls were out, when the house was too still, when she could hear the faint echoes of memories that felt like they belonged to someone else. Her mind wandered to the nights she used to curl up next to Mauricio on the couch, watching movies, stealing glances at each other, silently appreciating the life they had built. The way he used to run his fingers through her hair absent-mindedly, the warmth of his presence beside her. She missed those small moments the most. The ones that couldn't be captured in a glamorous Instagram post or a reality TV episode. She poured herself a glass of wine, debating whether to call one of her sisters. Kathy would probably tell her to take a trip somewhere fabulous to remind herself of who she was. Kim, on the other hand, would tell her to sit with her feelings, to embrace the loneliness until it no longer scared her. Both options had their merits, but neither would fix the ache in her chest tonight. The tabloids had been relentless. Rumors swirled about affairs, betrayals, and secret rendezvous. Kyle knew how the game was played, but that didn't mean it hurt any less to see headlines speculating about Mauricio moving on, while she was still learning how to sleep alone in a bed that now felt too big. She had tried to be strong. She had put on a brave face for the cameras, smiled through the whispers, and told herself she was okay. But tonight she wasn't. Tonight she was just a woman who had loved deeply and lost something she didn't know how to replace. Her thoughts drifted to her daughters, the one constant in her life. They had been her rock, her reason to keep going, but she didn't want to burden them with her sadness. They were navigating their own emotions, trying to understand how the family they had known their entire lives had suddenly shifted. She sighed, setting the wine glass down and wrapping her arms around herself. Maybe she should go out, call a friend, do something to distract herself from the loneliness. But the truth was, no amount of dinner parties or glamorous events would erase what she was feeling. Grief had a way of demanding to be felt, and she was beginning to realize that she had been trying to outrun it for too long. She made her way upstairs, pausing outside the door to the bedroom she once shared with Mauricio. She hadn't changed much. His side of the closet was still filled with his clothes, his scent lingering on the pillows. She wasn't ready to let go, not yet. Kyle took a deep breath and stepped inside, sitting on the edge of the bed. She ran her fingers over the soft fabric of the divot, allowing herself to remember. The good, the bad, all of it. Because even though they were no longer together, the love they had shared had been real. And that was something no headline or scandal could take away. She lay back against the pillows, staring up at the ceiling. Maybe one day she would find love again. Maybe one day the loneliness wouldn't feel so suffocating. But for now, she would sit with it, allow herself to feel every ounce of it, and remind herself that she was still Kyle Richards, strong, resilient, and capable of finding her way, even in the loneliest of nights.